Hello, my name is Robin, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time to watch this new podcast. We're trying something new here today because, we're all grounded, and I'm quickly running out of footage to share on my channel. I'm trying something new here with Crosscheck, and we're basically going to check up on some other fellow aviation YouTubers to see how they're doing. And today, this is our first pilot episode here to see if this is something we'll like. And I was happy to have a first guest on the show today. His name is Billy Gilberts.
Hello, Billy with Gilbert Travels here.
Together with his wife Grace, Billy Gilbert travels the world in the weekends and on their vacations. And since July 2018, Billy documents and shares his trips on his YouTube channel, Gilbert Travels, and so far has gained over 500 subscribers and 100,000 views, and he has no plans to stop anytime soon. Thank you for joining us for this very first episode of Vuelogs Crosscheck, Billy Gilbert. Hello Billy, how's it going?
Hi there, excellent. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how's it going being grounded?
For me, I have plenty of things going on, but here at home mainly and enjoying some time with family and just making the most of it and trying to keep myself from looking up different flights to try to fly after this is over every moment of the day.
So when was the last time you've actually seen a plane in the air?
The last commercial flight I was on was in late January. So it's, as it was, it's been a while.
And in the sky, like you're in Miami right now, do you see any aircraft in the sky?
I'm a little south and I don't, it's very seldom they see anything flying around.
Okay. First, I want to have you introduce yourself a little bit because for the viewers who don't know you yet, who are you?
Yeah, so, I'm just a regular guy. I work in sales and I like to travel. I've had a lifelong passion for planes, specifically, going back pretty much as long as I can remember. Me and a friend of mine down the street used to get together, ride bikes to each other's houses, going back to early school days and play every kind of flight simulator we could on computers. And we play flight simulators with chairs behind each other and pretend we were in a fighter jet and fly cross country in real time and all sorts of things. And really had a good time with that. And actually he's gone on and is now a commercial pilot.
Wow.
Life took me a different way here, and I've kind of recaptured that love for aviation now. The other component definitely has been travel for me. I've been flying internationally since the year 2000. It was my first international trip to Italy, and I've pretty much gone nonstop. As many different countries as I can go to since then. It's definitely a constant passion. And then, just the kind of gadgetry and technology components of this is something I've always been involved in. Going back at least 15 years, I've done photography. Mm-hmm. Different doing videography, but it utilizes a lot of the same computer technology, and it's nice to have some different toys to play with.
That's awesome, Billy. And so obviously you've been doing the YouTube thing since about July 2018 now. What inspired you to start putting that camera in front of your face? Because that's a very brave thing to do. Like for myself, the first time I did a trip report, I didn't dare to record my face, but let's just quickly watch a clip here from your very first trip report, if we can. Can you see it?
I don't see it, but it says you're screen sharing, so hopefully you're recording it.
Let's try it again. Should be showing. Does it show anything?
Not on my end.
Okay, let me try again.
There we go.
All right.
Just waking up here at the Miami Airport Hotel, getting ready to check in for our flight to Las Vegas in the new 737-800 Project Oasis. We're going to head on and go to the Miami Centurion Lounge. Hopefully there's space for us to get some breakfast.
So
Yep,
that's your first video, isn't it?
Yep.
How did we get here? Where how did this start?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that specific video, I enjoy YouTube a lot. For one thing, it's one of the primarily things that I watch in my own spare time is a bunch of different YouTubers of a variety of different genres. I enjoy YouTube as a platform and everybody bringing, whether it's education, entertainment, a mix of that out there. And so it's something I wanted to kind of give back to and get involved in. And specifically, in my own researching of travels, I got into watching other flight reviewers. And I kind of found it interesting how there's pretty much as many different ways to do a flight review as there are flight review videos out there.
Yes.
So there's not really a right way or a wrong way. I chose, even though I was used to being behind the camera, to be in front of the camera. I felt that the reviews that I thought were the most engaging were the ones where you had a presenter, you had a narration, you had a story being told intermixed with just the images that you're looking at. So even though it was certainly awkward, and it's something I'm always still learning to get used to, it is something I decided right from the beginning is like, okay, I'm going to be the one who's part of this thing. And it just, you just have to commit to it right away and know that it's one of those things that you're going to get better at over time. So on that particular video, that ended up being my first one. We had that trip planned. At the time, I didn't really know if my channel would be just flight reviews or if it would be flight reviews and, travel destination videos. I decided after a few trips to really let myself just enjoy being places and not try to figure out how to film every meal I was eating, every hotel I was staying in, all that. And just like let that be mine, but give this flight reviewing thing the primary focus. So I found out that flight was going to get operated by one of these modified American Airlines planes, which was all in the press at the moment there. So they were redoing the interior on these planes. So I was like, okay, well, this is the perfect excuse to just put myself out there. Nobody else has been on one of these planes yet. At the time, there were one or maybe two of them flying with that configuration. Wow. So I knew it was an opportunity to try something different. And so I just went for it, really.
That's fantastic. But how did it feel to get that camera in front of your face the first time? Because I surely remember the first time I did that. And heck was I felt embarrassed. And
yeah, absolutely. You don't really know, like, who am I talking to? Am I talking to this camera? Am I pretending like there's a person there? Do I look at the camera? How long am I supposed to talk? What do people want to hear? How am I supposed to sound? Am I supposed to try to be funny? Am I supposed to, and I just ultimately was like, I'm going to be myself and just let whatever quirkiness or interest come through.
So going back to the very first time, who inspired you? Like, who are the other YouTubers in or outside of the aviation community? Who inspired you to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the original kind of ones that I watched the most are not going to be shocking to anybody. I started watching Sam Shuey, a while back when he had his first big Emirates video. It was kind of his breakout video, really before he kind of went full-time as he is now. Jeb Brooks, who I've been kind enough to get to know a little bit, and he's an awesome guy. And Dennis Bunnick down there in Australia, he's kind of a classic entertainer of that genre. And one that is one that I personally pay attention to that I don't know is necessarily known, like you said, in the aviation community, is actually Mikey Chen. He's primarily a food blogger, and he travels around and he eats a lot of food, but he has these aviation reviews that are very focused on the meals on the plane. And I just like watching anytime he gets on a plane. That's really entertaining. So those were kind of what I based my early work off of.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I think it is pretty similar for most of us. Like especially Dennis Bunnick and Jeb Brooks were laying the groundwork for us to really step up with the quality as well when we were making the videos. Yeah, I'm kind of the same here. Now, for other people who might be thinking about doing this when planes start flying again,
sure.
What did you use? What was the first gear you used to make your trip reports? Like what camera, what software did you use? What microphone? What were you
Excellent
using?
question. Excellent question. Yeah, I definitely got caught up in that early on. What camera do I want to get? What microphone do I want to get? How do you record all this stuff?
You
And
want to spend all your money at once, but you
right.
also want to buy tickets.
And I ultimately, I watched some other YouTubers that were talking about their gear and everything, and they all kind of basically, the basic message I would get is just start with what you have. And my first review that you just played a clip of there was done completely recording-wise with my phone. My iPhone that I had at the time was like an iPhone 6 or something, just a regular iPhone with one camera. I filmed everything with the camera, and then I did the narration for the video with the recorder feature in the phone, and then I sent it over to my computer, and I just used iMovie that was on my computer, and it wasn't even a current computer at the time. It was some ancient copy of iMovie, and I just made it work from there. And I think that's kind of the key to things like this is you're unless you're willing to do 20 videos and not share them with anybody, or this is like your third attempt at starting a YouTube channel or something, you're not going to come out of the box putting out entertainment to rival Netflix or something. So you might as well just get started, because you're going to make mistakes, you're going to learn things, and you could go out and spend $10,000 on kit day one and find out that 90% of it doesn't work for what you need it for. So you need to get out there, you need to start putting your own content together, and then you'll find out that I need a dedicated camera for the window, that I need a microphone because I want to be involved in narration. And like I said, there's no rules to this thing. There's nothing that even says you have to ever appear your face on camera. There's nothing that says you ever have to speak. You can add to this conversation that we're all having and this information that we're sharing with each other just by going on the plane and recording what you saw. And even if you just string that together and put some titles on it, you're adding to the whole. If you decide you want to be like us crazy people and put yourself out there and let people see you and make comments about you and everything, more power to you. I think it's been fun. I wouldn't go back at this point, but come enjoy it how you want to.
That is fantastic advice, Billy. Over time, because it's been about a year and a half you've been doing this, almost nearing 2 years now.
Almost 2 years now, yes.
Yes. So what is some awesome gear that you have bought in the meantime? Like, what are the things that you'd recommend for potentially other YouTubers that are growing in their channel?
Definitely.
What you really like using?
I'm going to make probably a lame reference here, but I kind of have a curve of my gear where at one point I was doing flight reviews with 4 cameras, and it just got to be so cumbersome that when I would go and try and put it together on the computer at the end, it was just like kind of a nightmare to try to sync up all those different angles and everything. So now I'm trying to simplify everything back. So what I have now tried to condense down to is I have the GoPro 8. I was using a gimbal-based DJI camera to have that stability, because just hand-holding your phone, you'd get so much shaking. But I've found now that GoPro Hyper Smooth that they have is so stabilized on its own that it really makes carrying a bulky gimbal out in front of you and getting looks much less necessary, because the GoPro, you can turn all the lights and sounds and everything off on it while you're carrying around. People don't even really know that you're recording. And the Hyper Smooth now, it takes so many of those jarring things out. And then I've got this Rode Wireless Go microphone system, which I'm actually using right now. That's been a great tool for me. I really wanted to add audio live feedback, because a lot of these reviews I end up editing on my computer months after I took them, and I do take notes while I'm on the plane, but there's sometimes that there's just things that you realize to note on the plane that you might not remember later. So I've tried to get more and more of myself on the camera and get good quality audio on the plane. And it took a few failed experiments at different microphones and different recorders to find this setup that I like. And since it's just a microphone and not a recorder, you can just plug it in with a mic jack into whatever camera you're using. So I have the media mod now for the GoPro, so I can just plug the mic right in there. I don't have to sync up audio after the fact. So basically, and I have my iPhone 11, which I just love. The 3 cameras on that thing are awesome. So basically, I leave the GoPro on a suction cup mount, either facing me or facing out the window, and I do all kind of the B-roll and like the meals and the panning over the seat and all that kind of stuff with the different angles on the iPhone 11. And so that I'm really trying to stick with just those two cameras for my own sanity at the end of the day.
And then, what if you would have all the money in the world right now? What would be the final boss of the gear that you would still buy?
Yeah, I mean, if I had unlimited resources, I'd like to do everything in 4K, all the recording in 4K, be able to edit in 4K. I mean, I have a nice MacBook Pro that I bought to do this on. It's not going to do 4K. I would need to go back to having a brand new tower, that. If I could do everything in 4K, that would be amazing. But that's not where I'm at the moment.
Then going to something else, back into the air. What has so far been the favorite plane you've flown on, and why?
So, obviously, overall, I love the 747. I don't think that's a big shock to anybody. That first flight of mine back in 2000 was on an Alitalia 747. And so I've always loved that plane, loved everything about it. I've been fortunate enough to fly it several times now and wouldn't get enough of it. I've shared in that most recent video on my channel that the 767 is a cool plane for me personally, for some personal reasons that don't necessarily have to do much with it as a piece of technology. Although it is interesting, you get into, it was the first twin engine airliner, and that really revolutionized travel because you didn't have to have 4 and 3 engines anymore to cross oceans. And so we wouldn't have any of the great planes that we have today. You wouldn't have the 777, the Dreamliner, the A350, if you didn't have the 767 going and proving that it could be done first. So that's kind of my short list.
That's awesome. You've also shown me a clip of a very awesome thing, and I'll share it on the screen right now. Just a sec. I really have to start learning how this works. I'm sharing my whole screen, am I? Or
yeah, I see a something with like a red X over it. Uh-oh.
So, can you tell me about this?
Yeah. So I was just making a kind of a mention there of, I try to make all of my flights interesting and something that's worth sharing on the channel. But there are certainly times that I fly the same plane again, or I'm on multiple legs of a connecting flight, and the first plane I'm on, I don't really need to share. So like this is a case where I was getting up to Atlanta to get onto another plane that I was going to do a review on, and it was just a morning flight out of Miami that I'd done plenty of times. It's a short flight, so there wasn't really anything interesting about it. And then I was just sitting in my seat minding my own business, and the pilot comes on the intercom and says, everybody on the right side of the aircraft, look out your window. We're passing Cape Canaveral. They're about to launch a rocket. And just like that, you could see the Cape down there, which I've been to in person. And you just see this candle go off and this streak come up in the air over the wing. And I'm rushing to get my camera out and try to zoom in on my phone all the way and get it in focus. And I got a few seconds of it there streaking by the camera. But it's like one of those things where sometimes you're not here to record a review and then something amazing happens.
So it was all sheer luck that you not only were on that aircraft, but you were also having a window seat on the right side.
It was complete circum. I had no idea they were doing it. I had no clue at all until the pilot mentioned that, oh, by the way, a rocket's about to take off out our window.
Oh, wow. That is fantastic. You probably would have loved to make a trip report of that flight that day. Cool. Now, also before the podcast, I asked you to share some bloopers with me, and you went all out here, Billy. If
you want bloopers, I'm going to give you bloopers. I'm not going to give you anything lame. I'm not afraid to put myself out there.
Well, I want to share them with you. Let's go watch some of Billy's bloopers here.
from one of the newest planes in Delta's fleet at about 2 years old to a much older aircraft. Out with British Airways first class. Really was 30 years old. This one built in 1990. So come aboard here and let's see going full swing from one end of Delta's fleet to the other.
Is that a dog? That is a dog, I think. Oh my gosh. Did I seriously not hit record? I mean, I wasn't recording any of that. Huh? I have a feeling I wasn't recording any of that. So let's do the brief version.
Compared Europe's short-haul business class to America's short-haul first class. We visited many lounges and even occasionally shown you a few things on the ground.
No window, Billy. How did that happen?
I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't do my normal background research of going on and making sure the seat map didn't have any problems with it. I just figured it's a row in front of an exit row. Nobody will be kicking my seat or anything like that. And oops.
Oops. I think also very relatable are the PAs in the airport for anyone who is starting to record themselves in the airport. How often, like, I think usually you don't really notice how often they announce certain things until you start recording. Yes. And I think in the US it's even worse where you also every 5 minutes you get, do you see something suspicious? Call 911.
Yeah. Yes. Between the CAN announcements and the gate announcements, there's been times I've tried to start a video 3-4 times and just can't get it going.
Well, that's really awesome, Billy. Thank you for sharing those bloopers. I'm sure that people love to see more of those in the future.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think that the certain amount of lack of control of doing a flight review is one of the fun things about it. When I was into photography, I like nature photography because as good as you could get at knowing your camera and being at the right place at the right time, ultimately nature either happened or it didn't. And you'd go out and have a great day or you wouldn't. And flight reviewing is kind of the same way. You can have a plan, you can research the plane, you can get to the airport on time, and you can make sure you're not stressed. But ultimately, things are going to happen that are out of your control, and you have to be able to adapt to that.
Exactly. Now, a next segment that is also obviously new for the podcast here, and that is viewers. Questions from viewers. Every episode we're doing a podcast, I'm hoping to get some questions from viewers, from you. Well, obviously, this is a first episode of the podcast, but for future episodes, if we're doing them, I will be announcing them all on my social media with the option for you to send in questions for next guests on the show. We did manage to get one question from a viewer today. It's from Mr. Blake E. from Birmingham. He's asking,
suspicious.
What is your long-term goal for your facial hair? It changes frequently, and are you experimenting?
Yeah, I mean, that's funny, and I get a lot of comments on that. Obviously, at different parts of my channel, I've had a beard all the way out to here to totally clean shaven like today. It's just something I like to have fun with. And there's a little bit of a joke behind it also. Personally, I started out in a profession in sales, dealing with a lot of people that were much to my senior and getting them to try to spend money with me and getting right out of college and doing that. I looked obviously very young because I was very young, but if I let myself get a little bit of some scruff going, that at least gave me kind of the appearance of being a little bit older, that at least I could grow some facial hair. And so I will admit to being a little lazy with the razor sometimes, which some people do comment on, but I take it in jest, and I think it's just funny. So, but no, yes, the facial hair will continue to change in and out with Gilbert Travels. I refuse to conform to any particular appearance.
That is fantastic. Just don't care about what people say. That I think that's one of the most important things. And then thank you very much, Mr. Blake E, for sharing this. I'm gonna just explain our next segment here, and that's we're gonna test Billy's knowledge on aircraft type. And for this segment, I do want to thank two people today who were willing to share their images with the podcast today. I want to thank Alex Praglowski, who is a plane spotter from Calgary, and Josh Waddell, a 15-year-old plane spotter here from Edmonton. Thank you very much for sharing the images for today. I'll make sure to have a link to your Instagram in the description below. Billy, what is your knowledge on aircraft type? How good do you think you are?
I feel pretty good about it, but I'm always comfortable setting a good floor for everybody else to work up from.
Okay. So the idea is we have 1 minute. We're going to set a timer on my phone here. Hopefully I'll be able to get it on the screen as well. And then we're going to see how many aircraft type Billy can recognize within a minute. We're looking for the aircraft type here, not necessarily the variant, but if you know that, Billy, then that's it's not necessarily extra points, but extra dominance. So hopefully if we're doing more of these podcasts in the future, we're going to get a ranking to see which of my guests are the best at identifying aircraft. So let me get my timer ready here, and then when you're ready, Billy, let me know.
Go.
I'm not ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Let me see.
Make sure I can see a plane first.
Can you see a plane?
Yes.
You can. Okay.
Let me know when you want me to start.
Well, you're getting this one pretty much with extra time, but we're gonna start now.
737 MAX.
Perfect.
A340.
Correct.
747.
Correct.
Bombardier Q400.
Oh, wow.
A350.
Yes.
A330.
Yep, correct.
767.
Yes.
Canadair Regional Jet, probably 900.
Wrong. 700.
700?
Yes.
757.
Yes.
MD-88.
Wow.
737, probably 800.
900, but 737, that's correct.
That is an A310.
Yes, that's correct. And time. So, of the 14 images, you've had only one wrong. That is, and technically, you had a CRJ, but 13 images in 1 minute. That's fantastic. Well done, Billy. And thanks again to the spotters who were willing to share their images for the show today. Thank you very much. Hopefully, if we're doing future podcasts as well, maybe we're going to have some room for other spotters as well who are willing to share their images for this segment of the show. And with that, that's the end of the podcast. Billy, thank you very much for joining me today. What do you think? Is this something that we should be doing more often with other guests?
I think it's great. I've enjoyed interacting with other people in the aviation community since starting this channel. I think it's a great platform to get to know more about the people behind the reviews. As soon as you told me you want to do a podcast, I immediately jumped at the chance to be a part of it. and I'm glad to be the sort of proving ground for it. So I hope this is the first of many more to come. And if you have any need for reoccurring guests in the future, sign me up.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Billy. And thank you very much for watching this very first episode of the podcast today. I know I had a lot of fun, so this is probably something that I want to do more often. Hopefully, we can find other guests who are willing to come on this show. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. I'll be back with a new trip report next week, where we'll be trying out Air Canada's Boeing 777-300 on a quick short-haul flight from Toronto to Calgary. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next week.